You take a lot of bricks running for office, that's for sure. It was an interesting experience. I would say the hardest part were some of the friendships that got tested, some of which don't know if they'll ever be rekindled. So that's the hard part because when I'm a friend, I go in and out for my friends. So I wasn't expecting that, but it happened. And the fact that your life is just on public display, right, for everyone. Um, and no matter what you do, sometimes you're gonna have people that like you, you're gonna have people that hate you.
Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. Hey, Black and Blue fam, what's good with you? Welcome back to the latest edition of the Black and Blue Podcast, where we celebrate diversity in U.S. law enforcement. My name is Dale, and I'm the host. Thank you for stopping by because I got a real good one for you here today. But before we do that, let me ask you first, click those like, subscribe, and bell icons right down here on my YouTube channel. And if you listen to me on your favorite podcast platform, hey, please rate the Black and Blue Podcast 5 stars. And finally, be sure to check me out on any one of my social media pages for even more content. You can find me everywhere at Black and Blue US. All right, so with that down, let's get to it. Today's guest is a county sheriff in the great state of Minnesota. So Black and Blue fam, help me welcome to the show, Hennepin County, Minnesota Sheriff, Dawanna Witt. How you doing, Sheriff?
I'm doing well.
All right. Good morning to you. Well, good afternoon to you. Good morning to me out here in California. How's your day shaping out?
It's shaping out good. It's good that it's no longer Monday, but I could use some California weather here in Minnesota because it's still a little chilly.
Is it really? Where? What's the weather like out there right now?
I want to say we're in the high 40s today, if not the low 50s. Yes.
Okay. Well, for you, that's nothing. That's summer weather for you, right?
It's below average. It should be in the 60s.
Okay. All
It
right.
was a long winter. One of our most snowiest winters. I think we hit the top 3 this year. So I'm ready.
Wow.
I'm ready for summer.
Yeah, I bet. We had a wet winter out here as well in California. It was, once the rain hits, people don't know how to drive out here in California, so it was rough, but but it was all good. Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Like I mentioned in the intro there, you are the sheriff of Hennepin County, Minnesota. Where is that exactly for those of us not in the know?
So our biggest city is Minneapolis, home of the Vikings, Timberwolves, as y'all know. So I got to represent that. But Minneapolis is the biggest city.
Timberwolves aren't doing too good, though. Timberwolves aren't doing too
I
good.
know. I need to go talk to them for a minute because that's just not okay.
Yeah, so it encompasses Minneapolis, and about how large is the county?
Our county, we're the largest county in the state, population about 1.3 million.
Okay, all right. And you've been the sheriff for about how long now?
4 months.
4 months. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Are you a Minneapolis native, Minnesota native?
So I was actually born in Chicago, Chicago Heights, and moved here when I was a small child. A lot of my family still lives there. I have my more immediate family that lives here in Minnesota, though. So originally from Chicago Heights, and then South Minneapolis is where I was raised, went to school.
Okay. All right. So you're kind of more of a native of Minneapolis. It sounds like you've been there a little bit longer than Chicago.
Yes, a lot longer.
Yeah, a lot longer. Yeah, but it's not too far from Chicago, right? How far is the two cities?
Depends on who driving. I can do it in about 7.5 hours.
Depending on is that fast though?
That's good enough. How about that? I'm pleading fifth.
Pleading the fifth on that. All right, all right. So you've been the sheriff for a few months now, and did you start at that department, or did you get elected from somewhere else? How did that work out?
No, it's interesting because I did start my career here in Hennepin County in 2000. I was a detention deputy. And it's interesting because I never saw myself in this field because I have history with just not having trust or liking police because of the encounters that my family has had. But I started my career off here again in 2000 as a detention deputy, and that's a non licensed police officer here in Minnesota. And from there, I went to get my license to become a licensed peace officer. I went to Dakota County Sheriff's Office, where I was at for 16 years. And then in 2019, I was asked to come back to Hennepin County in an appointed position as a major. And in 2022, I ran for sheriff, the first time ever running for office, and here I am.
Wow, wow. How was that election process for you?
You know, you take a lot of bricks running for office, that's for sure. It was an interesting experience. I would say the hardest part were some of the friendships that got tested, some of which don't know if they'll ever be rekindled. So that's the hard part because when I'm a friend, I go in and out for my friends. So I wasn't expecting that, but it happened. And the fact that your life is just on public display, right, for everyone. Um, and no matter what you do, sometimes you're gonna have people that like you, you're gonna have people that hate you. But what I knew is that I run off of being authentic, staying true to myself, and putting myself on that platform where I'm not here to be anything but authentic and to do the right thing. And I overwhelmingly was voted in by the citizens of Hennepin County. There were 5 of us originally in this race, and
Okay.
so it's been a journey.
Was there an incumbent, or what happened to the previous sheriff?
No, the sheriff prior to me, who's the one who actually brought me in as an appointed position, there were some things that happened within his personal life that was very public. I'm not going to use this platform to talk about it, but ultimately he decided not to run.
Okay, okay. And then so then there were 5 of you, and I'm sure that sounded like it was a heated race, and you came out on top. Was it a straight? You said overwhelming, so there didn't have to be a runoff or anything, right?
Nope, didn't have to be a runoff. When it came down to the 2 of us, right? Because only 2 of us were able to make the primaries. It was, I want to say, a 2-to-1 vote basically, and so
Nice.
it wasn't even close.
Okay, okay. And how large is your department?
Our department is about 853 staff, and that's civilian as well as sworn.
Okay,
And
yeah, yeah.
again, so it's the largest county in the jail. We have the biggest jail, and I'm sorry, the biggest jail in the county, um, as well as our staff. As far as county sheriff's offices, we are the biggest in that way as
Okay,
well.
yeah, yeah. What sort of duties do? Because I know sheriff's offices, across the country, do different things. Out here in California, a lot of sheriff's offices also do patrol as well as handle the jails and the courts. Is it the same there in Hennepin County?
Yes, we are a full service sheriff's office. We do patrol. We have the jail, court, civil process, patrol, water patrol. I don't know if that's something of the county sheriffs in California, but we are mandated by state statute to patrol the waters as well. In Minnesota being the land of 10,000 lakes, so that's
Right.
pretty big in itself, right? So yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. And what lakes are? I guess it's not Erie out there. I started out. I grew up in Ohio before I came out to California. So yeah, I know about Lake Erie and all that. What lakes are close? The big lakes out there.
I would say Minnetonka is the biggest one for
Yeah.
for my city or for my county. But yeah, we have so many different lakes: small, large, medium.
Wow. Wow. Yep. And nothing like it, huh?
Nothing like it, except for we
Yep.
get to only enjoy it for 4 months out of the year because of the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's got to be a beautiful time of year, spring before you right get into summer. You said it was a little chilly, but I'm sure it's still a beautiful time of year, though, right?
It is. It'd be nice when the trees are green again and we can see green grass. We're getting there, but that's what makes it really look nice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, getting back to Hennepin County, what's kind of the makeup of Hennepin County? Is the demographics?
The demographics, well, it's predominantly white. However, we do have like cities, like if you take Minneapolis, for instance, which is North Side and South Side. North Side has a higher population of people of color, as well as South Minneapolis. I don't have the exact percentages, but you know what? We are very diverse, not just um, with cultures or race, but both. We have a large Somali population here in Hennepin County. I want to say one of the largest in the country, as well as other races and cultures. So it is growing to be more and more diverse. And that makes it interesting because if you think about the makeup of Hennepin County, where you have, again, the major city is Minneapolis, and when you think about the sheriff's office or Hennepin County as a whole, 37 cities, and some of those include like smaller areas, like more rural. So
Mhm.
it's just our geographical area is diverse in itself as well.
Absolutely. And does your department kind of mirror the community?
I would say that we are one of the departments that better do it, that better mirror. It's like, you think here I am the first female and black person to lead this agency, the largest agency. What people don't know is my number two is also a woman and a woman of color. So, that's unheard of in Minnesota where we are leading the largest agency, and here you have these two black women doing it. So, so
Yes.
it's kind of like, okay, people are taking notice of that, like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't something people here are used to seeing. And let me add that we're doing a good job of it too, right?
Right.
So, but when we're talking about like community, I do believe in that phrase. You can't be what you can't see. So as I am working on our diversity and increasing our diversity here at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, one thing I talk about is, hey, we can't have all all of our people of color in one area. We need to be everywhere, right? That is that indirect recruiting, and making sure that we are living up to making sure that we do represent the communities that we serve.
Absolutely. And sounds like that you're kind of doing that job now pretty well. Are you guys hurting for people like every other agency across the nation right now?
Yes, we are. It's hard. For the state of Minnesota, there are more job openings for people to go in law enforcement than there are candidates. I'm also an adjunct professor at one of our colleges, and I'm used to having over 20 students in my class. I have 7 this semester,
Wow.
and some of my peers, the same thing. So, it is tough, right? But also, we got to look at this might be an opportunity. How can we do things different? How can we do things better? And just because we've always recruited people one way doesn't mean there aren't other ways of doing it. So we have to step up to the challenge, figure out what that is. We do acknowledge that we're hurt right now, but we can't stop moving, right? We got to keep our eye on the ball and stay true to that oath that we have taken, which is to serve and to protect our communities. But we also have to acknowledge that we need people and good people to do that job. We can't afford to go backwards with some of the things that we're seeing out here, right? With bad police behavior. That does not represent all of this profession. And you know what? If we keep getting stuck in those moments where we're losing opportunities to change things. So, it's not ignored, but we also got to make sure that we're multitasking and making sure that we are trying to do better and be better all the time.
That part right there. And a lot of these sentiments of why a lot of people don't want to become police officers nowadays because of things that happened. And 2020
Mhm.
was the main thing, and you were right there in the epicenter of it. And in Minnesota with George Floyd, how was that experience for you back when that happened?
One of the most difficult times in my profession. And when I say that, it wasn't just the one day, it was everything that even came after the murder of George Floyd. Um, I could tell you like there were times where I would go out, like especially when the protest came downtown, because at the time I was the major overseeing the jail and courts for Hennepin County. So the trial for Derek Chauvin, as well as the other high profile hearings that we had, that was on my watch. That was at the courthouse that I was in charge of making sure that I provided safety and security while at the same time balancing people's First Amendment, right? So, you know, when I would go out there and talk to people, there are some people who are like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to talk to people. And, well, what are you going to say? I don't know. I don't plan it. I just stay true to who I am. And albeit that there were some people who did not want to see me, did not want to see me out there because I had a uniform and I have this badge. I had to like tone that out and find the people who did want to hear from me, who did want an explanation as to what's going on, who did want to understand the process. But at the same time, I took bricks, where people would call me names. I'm a traitor, I'm a Auntie Tammy, and all of this. But nobody knew my story, right? How I got here, because I didn't come through the traditional way, and I most certainly didn't think or know that I would be in this field. I do consider myself a game changer because of all the things I had to overcome to get to this spot where I am today. That wasn't easy. And
Right.
what keeps me fueled is don't ever forget where you came from, the good, the bad, or any of that. But that is how I lead myself through this profession all the time. It's like, you know what? We need to be everywhere. We need to represent from every aspect. We need all lenses, not just race, but all lenses at the table. When we're
Yep.
trying to say that we're making decisions for the greater good and for the majority and making sure nobody gets left behind, that means you need people with all of those different experiences and those backgrounds. If you're truly committed to doing that and to diversity, you recognize that just because somebody is different or have a different background, don't mean they're wrong.
Right.
It's just different.
Yep. Yep. And part of that diversity, like you just said a minute ago, not just race, but gender as well. You being
Hmm.
a female in this male-dominated profession, I'm sure you've had some ups and downs during your career. But let's talk about. You said your journey to this career, and you said it wasn't an easy one. Let's talk about that.
Well, as I said, I grew up in South Minneapolis. My mother was an addict. My father was an alcoholic. My father was also a person who was he was a vet. And back then, 70s and 80s, we weren't calling PTSD, but now that's exactly what we would call it. And he drank his problems away, basically. Um, but that meant for like a very unstable household too. I'm one of five siblings that grew up in that household because I do have other siblings on my dad's side. But I grew up in a house where there were three girls, two boys. I'm being the second oldest. And when my dad was gone and my mom got into other relationships, there was a lot of violence, a lot of abuse. I come from a family who was very embedded in gangs, especially in Chicago. But all of that meant invitations for law enforcement to come into our lives. I was that kid who it felt like the system did fail us as kids because we endured a lot. Whether it was the drugs, the alcohol abuse, you name it, that was it. And then our neighborhood, where it's like, okay, I came from a family of one gang, on the next block was another gang. But you know what? Even though we as kids weren't a part of that, we were we were a part of that indirectly. So but again, the fact that brought so much police to our lives, I saw bad policing. I have been called names as a child by people in this profession as a child. Um, and so when people would say that doesn't happen, or don't believe that people were treated badly by the police, I'm always the one who challenges and say, how do you know that? I don't take this profession lightly. I will often tell people I don't expect you to respect me because I have a uniform and badge. I expect to earn it. And that's because that's what I bring with me. People did not earn it. So, I also became a mom at 15. And that was the moment where it's like, okay, I didn't want my baby girl being raised in the environment that I lived in. And I'll say this, my mom put us through a lot, but I still love my mom. She's not here with us today, right? But, she put us kids through a whole lot, and I know I wanted better for my daughter, and so that's when I moved out of my home. I actually gave my daughter to her dad, and I went to go live in a shelter because I wasn't emancipated, so I could not live on my own with her until I got into this program where I could have her with me, where they taught me independent living skills, taught me financial readiness, which still working on that, but and and
Aren't
just
we
pushed me
all?
to go to school, right? And so when I graduated from that program at 16, had my first apartment, had my daughter, enrolled myself back into high school because I always loved school and I was always into sports. I was the girl who would beat every boy in every sport. It did not matter. Tomboy, I was all tomboy. Still
Okay.
am a little bit. But, got back on the basketball team, was the coach of our girls' basketball, or, I'm sorry, the captain of our girls' basketball team. So it was basketball on one hip, a baby girl on the other. And then I had people who were supporting me, pushing me by this time, like, yes, you can, just keep going, keep going. Got multiple scholarships to go to college and ended up graduating with my first degree in chemical dependency and family therapy. I wanted to help kids like me, because that was my background. That was a part of my life, and I wanted to be what I needed to see. And so I started working for a nonprofit and working with families who had child protection cases, and chemical dependency was an issue in their family. And my job was to get them reunited in their communities, teach parenting skills, and write progress reports to the courts on what they were doing and how they were doing. Again, something that I could relate to because I wanted to help kids that were like me.
Yep.
And I did that for a few years, and I had a couple of cases that I was not yet ready for. And that was one where a father that I had just got assigned, he had just killed his infant child. And then another one where the same week, a mom who I really advocated for the judge to give her unsupervised visits with her 4 children. The judge granted that based off of my recommendations and all the work that she was doing. And the first night, getting a call from the kids in the middle of the night asking me to come pick them up. They didn't know where their mom was. And so I went to pick them up, and the 2 oldest boys, when I was taking them back to foster care, they started fighting in the back seat of my car. And they were straight swinging on each other, right? But they were fighting because they were blaming themselves for their mom going back out there and using. That is something that I have forgotten me and my brothers and sisters used to do. We used to blame ourselves, like we're the reason why she did that, and that hurt me to my core. I mean, that hurt me. I totally forgot about that part of our life. But I went to talk to a friend of mine who was a probation officer at the time, a juvenile probation officer, and she and I we went on a tour at the Hennepin County Jail, and never thought about it, but it was that tour where they talked about how they needed women and specifically women of color. To me, in my head, working in the jail was not the same as the police officers I seen in and out of squad cars. So I'm like, okay, this is something I can do. But it was working in the jail where I started to have more encounters with law enforcement. My job was to communicate with them so I could figure out what I was doing with the detainees that they had as I took them into the jail. But I had to have conversations, right? Well, I got to know people over time. I got to know them for them as individuals. And then, all the barriers I had about believing, and I will say, I truly believed it was all police were bad. That wasn't fitting the narrative for me. I actually met some good police officers, some good deputies, and that's why I'm a huge advocate for real community policing because I was that person. You could not tell me different. They're all bad. They all just wanted got a power trip or something like that. That was
Hmm.
my real beliefs. That was my reality, and that's what it took for me to lower those barriers. Was I had to have those conversations. I had to have something that challenged my stereotypes, right? And so for me, I knew what it took, and so that's why I'm always like, going through a community, driving through a community, or just knowing the streets is not being a part of your community. Who are the people? Who are your business owners? What is it that your communities need? You can't
Yes.
you can't just ask people those questions. You have to be able to connect with that.
Yeah. Yep. And sounds like you made the right choice.
I know I did. I know I did,
Yeah.
and I laugh at when you say that at first because I just said in a meeting, it's like, yep, 3 years, 9 months to go. People are like, you're already counting.
Uh, is that the term of office? Is it a 4 year term?
Yes, it's a 4 year
Yeah.
term.
Yeah, and you're not looking to go for re-election, huh?
Well, I'm not saying that. It would be one thing. Like I said, there were some things going on here at this office. I was not prepared to run. I did not see it coming. I just never been a person to sit back and be like, oh, what are we going to do now? Or, oh, what's going to happen next? There was we were faced with we need something to happen now, and we need to make sure that we save this sheriff's office and make sure that we are able to do the job that is needed to be done right now. I've never been one to sit back and just let things happen to me. I'm a doer. So I didn't plan to run. It was literally a couple of conversations, and I think I even made the decision before I even told my husband. and uh,
You gonna do
and
what?
here I am. Things were happening quickly. It is. He knew that I was having the conversations, but it was a surprise. But he also know who he married. I'm not somebody who just sits back. It's like, okay, I'm a person who say, don't complain if you're not willing to try to be a part of the solution. Even if I would not have lost, I would have known that I was trying to be a part of the solution, right?
Right.
So, it's somebody like I was the only internal in this race. And with everything that happened after the murder of George Floyd, all of the instability, the high crime that we're seeing in Hennepin County, what we could not afford was somebody to get in and learn the job. We needed somebody who already knew the job. And so when we say next term, I do see myself running for it, but I didn't see myself running for this one. So you never know what's going to happen, right?
Never know. Never know. Yep. For sure. For sure. And you mentioned a lot of issues that had to be worked out. Have you been able to work through them, or you still got some work to do?
No, I've been able to work through them for the most part, but there's that's one of the things with problems, right? There's always something. You're never really done. You're always working on something, right? Because life is about changes. The economy is about changes. Our neighborhoods are about changing. So you know what? I fix what's in front of me and I prioritize and I keep it moving so I can be ready for the next thing. I'm a person who uses a little bit of sports analogy, and I tell people all the time, I don't want to be on defense. I want to be on offense, right? Some of the things that we know that we're facing or know that's coming. Why wait for them to get here? Let's start talking and working on that right now. And so that's how I look at the situations. And I know sometimes people be like, "Oh my God, here she come." Yep, here I come. What we working on next, y'all? What we working on next? We know we still got this over here, but we got to focus on this too. We can't afford to have tunnel vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And you being a female sheriff of Hennepin County, and you've got over 20 years experience in this job. What was your experience like as a female coming up in this profession?
It's interesting because when I left Hennepin County in 2004 to go to Dakota County, there weren't a lot. There were less females in Dakota County than there were in Hennepin. It was less diverse at one point, and then at some point we turned the corner at Dakota County and became the most diverse law enforcement agency in the state. But as a female out there and being only one of two black females and one of three female of colors in the field, it was interesting, because the three of us would talk about it all the time, how we see things differently, based off of our gender and our race. How we sometimes felt like you could talk to people and they look at you like you're an alien because they can't relate. Which is why I say learning is lifetime. You know what? You may not know about me, but I'm going to teach you about me because there's other people out there like me. Um, but going up the ranks there at Dakota, because that's what I did. I was the first woman to reach the rank of captain in the history of Dakota County Sheriff's Office. And as I was didn't know it yet, but as I was preparing to come to Hennepin, one of the things that was important to me is like, oh my goodness, I am the only female with rank there. And so, I rallied all the females together. It's like, okay, you guys, you have to hold the torch. What are we going to do? What is it? that I can do to help assist you with making the decision to go for rank? Because it wasn't that they weren't qualified; they just chose not to. To try to go up in the ranks. But that bothered me too. It's like, what is it? What is it about that? About the females that they don't want to go to a higher rank. But at the end of the day, they have one of those females as is a sergeant. But when I would hear from people like after I left, because I still have some relationships there, it's like I didn't realize what an impact that was for some of them when I did leave, and that hurts, right?
Yeah.
Like where somebody said to me, they're like, you know what, you were the go-to person, you were the one that we came to, and what are we supposed to do now? And it was like, oh, did I do my job with making sure that I was the whole time, right? Not just at the end, but the whole time. Did I fail at my job with getting other people prepared to be the next Dawanna Witt?
Right.
Especially when it comes to diversity, when it comes to females and people of color, but that bothered me. It's like, because they should have somebody. I mean, there's sometimes that they call me still to this day, and I've been gone now since 2019. But that is the trust that I built with them, and the respect that I have with them, that, that bond can never be broken. But I often say that there needs to be somebody there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody that they
Where?
can connect to, somebody that can relate to.
Yeah. Where is Dakota County? Is it like the next county over, or?
Yeah, it's the next county over. It's in the top 5 or 6 for largest counties. It's not nearly as diverse as Hennepin County, but you know what? That was my home for 16 years. Let me tell you, here you have this black female deputy. Here goes a funny thing. But I was also the chief of our county fair there, which is one of the biggest county fairs in Minnesota. And so here you had me as the the black female deputy who was leading the tractor parade, right? And when I would set up the county fair and meet with people in the community, I know that I made a huge impact. Again, going back to that engagement, people might think they know who I am based off of my race or my profession, but I was somebody who didn't wait for people to come and talk to me. I talk to everybody. Like if I was with my daughters or my husbands, they always say, "You gotta talk to everybody." I'm like, "Yeah, I talk to everybody."
Yeah, that's how you get to know people, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah, it sounds like you're a pretty busy lady right now. You're running the tractor parade over at the county fair back in the day. What do you like to do now that you're the sheriff? I'm sure you're still pretty busy. What do you like to do when you're not being sheriff?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Peters. Everybody's asking like, what am I doing for self care? And I can tell you, day one, I've been running and trying to get things together, pull things together, and so I have not been able to do things that I like to do, which is spend time with my family. I have 2 grandkids that I absolutely adore, and I have never been that distant. I shouldn't even say distant. I'm not seeing them for that quality time that I like, because my phones are always ringing. I'm always at meetings. But my family is what I like doing. I like being with my family. I love to cook for my family. I like to have gatherings. And my whole life has been turned upside down. And but with that being said, it's like no regrets, because I do feel like that it was the right time with everything that's going on in Minnesota, specifically Hennepin County and Minneapolis, the city of Minneapolis. It was the
Yeah.
right thing to do, and I'm lucky and blessed to have a family that supports me. But I cannot forget that they need me too, right? Like
Yeah.
I could tell you, like there's an an outlet today that was questioning why I was not at a funeral. We just lost a deputy in Minnesota here a little bit over a week ago. And I could tell you, I take those types of things to heart. When we lose somebody in the line of duty, I take it to heart. But it's like that balance where I made a commitment to my family. as well. Like with my youngest daughter, who she teaches kids who are challenged, have behavioral challenges, and she was just assaulted in school and in the hospital with a concussion. And I was just getting back from Quantico, Virginia, at training. I made a commitment to be with my family, but yet there's some people who want to come at me because I wasn't at the funeral. But again, that's like, what? Ask me. Don't do that, right? Don't
Yeah.
try to make this something. But there's 87 sheriffs in Minnesota. Why are you just asking why I'm not there? Are you asking the other sheriffs that weren't there?
Right.
But they make it about me. And and like I said, my time, what I like to do is make sure when I tell my family I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. When I tell them I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And that is my time, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter if we're at home or if we're on a vacation together. That's my quality time, and they need that time. And how dare anybody try to challenge that?
No doubt. No doubt. And you said you ran for sheriff unexpectedly, and and in the end you came out on top. So now that you are sheriff, what's kind of the best part of your job as sheriff, most rewarding part of your job as the sheriff of Hennepin County?
I'm gonna tell you my phrase. I can show you better than I could tell you. And what I mean by that, I've always had ideas, in this profession. And, but sometimes it took a lot of work to get people to see things that are different from what they know, right? People tend to stay comfortable. Um, and now I'm in that position. The best part is now I'm in that position. See, my badge says one, where I get to make some of those decisions, right? I do utilize my team. But, I get to implement things that I believe will better help us in this profession and will better help us build those gaps with our communities. You know, um, so the best part is the, the puck does stop with me now. I get to decide.
Yep. All right. And but on the flip side of that was kind of the more challenging part of your job now as sheriff. I'm sure politics, playing the politics is part of it.
That would be number two. My number one would be, as I said, as I'm authentic and I like people, and yes, I do talk to everybody, but I am going from meeting to meeting. And when I have a meeting with somebody, I want to focus on that person. I don't want to be rushing out. I want to listen, right? I want to take in what's being said to me. And to be honest, that's the hardest thing for me right now because I don't like not giving people the time that they deserve, right? And especially when it's people who put me into this office, right? So that would be my number one. Number two is the politics, right? I will say that I am the DFL endorsed sheriff, and some people did not take a liking to that. But here goes the deal when it comes to politics, and when it comes to me. I'm not a person who says that you have to agree with everything the party says. In fact, I said that to my team. It's like, yeah, I'm DFL endorsed, but what does that mean? What does that mean? I am a sheriff to everyone. This is a nonpartisan office. We need people who can be reasonable about when we are making decisions that impact 1.3 million people.
Yes.
When we're talking about like far left or far right, you know what? We need people in the middle that can be reasonable and understand that it's not just one way or the other. When you take on the decision to represent multiple people, it is your job not to just focus on what your views are, but to represent the better good for all the people that are counting on you to do the right thing when you're in those positions.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. All right, Sheriff Witt. Hey, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with me today. I'm sure today's even busier than other days, but hey, before I get you out of here, I do like to play a little trivia with my guests here. So let me get this set up for
Oh
you
boy.
here. Oh boy,
Okay.
here we go. And this is
Black or blue? 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 Black or blue?
all right. So Sheriff Witt, this is my black or blue game, and your category today is Welcome to Minnesota. Welcome to Minnesota. Yes, I had to do it. famous people from Minnesota. I'm gonna show you a picture of a famous person. You just tell me, are they from Minnesota or not? Pretty simple
Okay.
there. Maybe not that simple, but maybe I'll give you some hints along the way. But pretty
Okay.
simple there. So here's your first one here. How about Bob Dylan? Is Bob Dylan from Minnesota?
Yes.
That is correct. Yes, Bob Dylan is from Duluth, Minnesota. Matter of fact, all right. Off to a good
Okay.
start there. How about Elton John? Is Elton John from Minnesota?
I think I would know if Elton John was from here. No, he's not from Minnesota.
No, he's not. He's from England. Sir Elton John is from England. All right. 2 for 2. How about your next one here? How about Morris Day? Is Morris Day from Minnesota?
Morris Day and the Time. Yes.
There. He's definitely from Minnesota, from Minneapolis, as a matter of fact. And next one here, how about Morris Chestnut?
Morris Chestnut, I would say no, because I think I would have heard about that because I used
You
to
think
stalk
you would
that
have heard
man
about
social
that?
media.
He is not from Minnesota. All right. Going pretty good here. How about your next one here? How about Winona Ryder? Winona Ryder, is she from Minnesota?
Yes.
Yes, they do a story every year on her birthday. She's from Winona, Minnesota. Guess she was named after her hometown. All right. How about your next one? How about Jessica Biel, famously married to Justin Timberlake? Is she from Minnesota?
I'm going to go with yes.
Good choice there. Good choice there. She's from Ely, Minnesota, wherever that is. You know where that is?
It's way up north, I believe.
Way up north. Okay.
I think
Even
so.
colder. Even colder.
Where it gets older.
Yeah. All right. Good job there. How about your next one here? How about Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Is he from Minnesota?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
that's correct. No, he is not. He's from Hawaii, as a matter of fact. So yeah, we all know. You would have known if he was from Minnesota for sure.
That's what I was
All right.
thinking. I would do
Yeah.
that.
How about John Madden? Is he from Minnesota?
No?
Oh, first one wrong there. He is from Minnesota. He's from Austin, Minnesota.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. That's all right.
Okay.
Only one wrong here. A couple more here for you.
But,
How about
with this thing, you would think there was something named here after him.
you would think. Yeah. Judy Garland, is she from Minnesota?
Yes.
Yeah, another good choice there. Yes, she's from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. A few more here for you. How about Vince Vaughn? Vince Vaughn, is he from Minnesota?
I want to say yes.
Yes, another good job there. He's from Minneapolis.
You need to come back.
Yeah, he needs to come back. He's out here now in Hollywood, so I would assume. But yep, he's originally from Minneapolis. How about Bill Clinton? Is Bill Clinton from Minneapolis? From Minnesota? No, he is not. We all know he's from Arkansas, right?
Yes.
Yep. And Jessica Lange. Jessica Lange, is she from Minnesota?
No?
Oh, that is not correct. She's from Cloquet. You know where that is?
Yes, I do. I have not been there, but I know.
Okay. Yep.
And I
That's
did not
where
know
she's
she was from here.
Yeah, originally from there. I don't know how much time she spent there, but she's originally from there. All right, and your last one here. How about Prince? Is Prince from Minnesota?
Yes.
That's a gimme. Yeah.
Yes. I was wondering, like, why did you ask me about Prince?
Yes, you did pretty good on that one. So we gonna call
All I
you
do is win,
the
no
winner.
matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
All right, hey, let me get you back on there. All right, great job there. Yes, those are some people from Minnesota, and including Sheriff Witt.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks for coming on again. Before I get you out of here, how about some words of wisdom for the audience and the viewers?
Words of wisdom. You know what? Go for your goals. Know that there's always going to be speed bumps in the road, But you know what? Those are just things that slow you down. They're not things that prevent you from reaching your goals. So believe in yourself, stay true to yourself. And that goes with the good in your life, the bad in your life. Remember, all of those things shape who you are. And don't give up on yourself. That's my word to wisdom.
Great words to live by. All right, Sheriff Witt. Hey, I appreciate you coming on, and hey, you be safe and kind of stay warm out there until it warms up in the summer. In the summer, it's
Thank
coming up
you.
real soon. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Hey, that was a great interview with Hennepin County, Minnesota Sheriff Dawanna Witt. Thank you for coming out and spending some time with me. Hey, I really appreciate that, Sheriff Witt. And if you guys out there appreciated this episode, hey, go on ahead and let me know by leaving a comment in the section below. And don't forget to click those like, subscribe, and share icons too for this episode. I'll be back another couple weeks from now with another great interview just like that one. But till then, y'all know the phrase. Stay black and blue. My name is Dale. Holla at your boy. Peace.
This has been a Maitre D Entertainment presentation.